Welcome back, Year 7. This is your fifth lesson on Amazing Asia. We have looked at the various countries in Asia and had a look at the physical features, and we are now exploring the human features of Asia. Once more, before the start of this lesson, make sure you have a black or blue pen, your exercise books, or some paper to write on, and a red pen if you can to self assess your work with. Pause the video quickly to get these if you don't have them, and then come straight back to the start of the lesson. Can't quite remember what you need? It's in this blue box here. Otherwise, let's crack on with our first task of the lesson, which is the remember task. Question 1 is asking you to label the countries on the map A to E. It's key to maintain the knowledge of the countries of Asia and their location. This is why we're doing these locations of these countries. Then the second question asks you, what does GAME stand for in geography? This is something we covered last lesson, so if you don't know it, then you need to watch the last lesson. And we used it to describe where people are located in Asia. Now the countries here, A is this country here, B is this small country down here off the coast of this one, C is this country here, which hopefully we know by now, D is this country here, and E is this one here. So pause the video now and complete question 1 and 2. Excellent, well done, Year 7. We are on our way. Get your red pens ready to self-assess your work. Remember, if you've got it wrong, make sure you put in the right answer. It's okay to get it wrong. If you get it right, give yourself a big red tick. So, here are our answers. Mark your work now with your red pen. If you need to pause the video to mark your work, then do so now. Otherwise, let's move on to our lesson. And today we're going to talk about the human features of Asia. We're going to look in more detail about different aspects of Asia, from cities to slums. Before we go through that though, we need to make sure we have these keywords down. Population decline is where the number of people in that population is going down, this one here. Population growth is then just the opposite, and is where the number of people in that population are going up, so this keyword here. And then we also need to ensure that we have definitions of urban, built up areas such as towns and cities, and rural, countryside, these two that we covered last lesson. So pause the video now to get down these keywords, which will be useful when we come to it later on. Good, so you should have paused the video and you should have got those 4 keywords down. So, last lesson we looked at the population distribution in Asia. We identified that most people live in the south and east of Asia, in countries such as India and eastern China and Japan. We said areas with a lot of people in them we use the term densely populated. We also said areas such as Russia, Saudi Arabia are down here, Russia is this big country up here, and Mongolia are all sparsely populated or do not have a lot of people in them. Now, we use this structure here called GAME to help us structure our answers when we came to describe the population distribution in Asia. And I'm just going to go through it quickly what we did last lesson. So again, the most densely populated area in general is in Central, Southern, and Western Asia. These areas here in general. We'll get to this section later, but in general, these are the areas which are more densely populated or have a lot of people. And then we said also the most sparsely populated areas are these areas up here in Northern Asia, mainly the country of Russia. So that was our general pattern. We then said an anomaly is something that doesn't fit our pattern, was in Western China. So China is this outline here, which was also in your remember task. And now here, Western China, was where it was sparsely populated. Now it's an anomaly because it's in this area, which is generally densely populated. So because it's in the area that's densely populated, and it's a sparsely populated area, we say that is an anomaly. Now then the next part of our structure was most and least, so we identified northern India up here as the most densely populated with a population density of around 1001 to 5,000 people per kilometre squared. How did we know that using these colours? Well, the colours are along our key here, so we found roughly that colour is there, and that is our population density. Mongolia here and pretty much all of Russia were the most sparsely populated areas for the population density of around 1 to 2 people per kilometre squared. And again, we used our key to help us give us that figure. Now, E was that evidence when I used the figures from the key, and that was included in other sections such as our most and least parts. So, with that recap, let's try these tasks. You need to write out these statements in your books 1 to 5 in full. So you need to write each one in full. Then put whether you think they are true or false. This should take you around 10 minutes. Use your knowledge from last lesson and this lesson, what I've just gone over, to help you. So pause the video now, write out the statements in your book, and put them whether they are true or false. Wonderful, Year 7. So we're going to go through the answers, so you need to get your red pens ready. So here are your answers. Mark them correct if you got them correct and incorrect if you didn't, but make sure you mark the corrections if you did get it wrong. So pause the video if you need to go through it, otherwise we're going to continue. And just a quick recap: 1 was true, 2, the majority of Russia sparsely populated was true, the majority of Saudi Arabia is densely populated, that's false, the majority of Saudi Arabia is sparsely populated, the population distribution across Asia is even, that's false, it is uneven, and in general the south of Asia is sparsely populated, in general the south of Asia is actually densely, in general. So now we've looked at that and we've recapped it, let's look at urban areas in Asia, specifically cities. There are many cities in Asia, with many of them located around the south and southeast of Asia, as seen by this map on the left. See, there are other cities here, but in general, look how many cities are around India, China, Southeast Asia. There are many, many cities there. Now, the top 5 most populous cities are within these 5. So I'm going to go over the 5 most populous cities. So the most populous city is Tokyo in Japan here in Eastern Asia, and it has 38.2 million people in it. The next most populous city is Delhi in India with 27.1 million people. Now the third most populous city in Asia is Shanghai here in Asia, and that has a population of 25.2 million people. Beijing has a population of 22 million people in China. And finally, Mumbai in India has a population of 21.6 million people. So again, the top most populous cities, Tokyo in Japan has 38.2 million people in it. Second one, Delhi has 27.1 million people in them in India. The third most populous is Shanghai here in China at 25.2 million. The fourth one is Beijing in China again with 22 million. And lastly, Mumbai again in India is 21.6 million people in it. So as you can see, 4 out of the 5 most populous cities are in the 2 top most populous countries in India here and China here. Calcutta is close behind, is in the top 10. Karachi is in Pakistan, but a lot of them are all within either India or China. So many of these cities have fascinating and intricate histories. Tokyo, the most populous city, this one up here we're going to focus on quickly, is over 5,000 years old, set up during 3000 BCE, or before Christ, or before the Common Era. And formerly it was called Edo in Japan, before the Imperial Age in the mid-19th century, when it was renamed Tokyo. Calcutta, another one of the most populous cities in Asia, it used to be the capital of India until 1911. And it was the capital because it was a key British import. So it was port, sorry. So it was the main hub of trade for British imperialists during the British occupation of India. And so that's why it was the capital, because a lot of goods flowed through it. and so that's why a lot of people live there, because a lot of goods and that means a lot of jobs were there. Until the 1980s, actually, it was the most populous city in India. Last city we're going to look at is Manila in the Philippines. The Philippines are here, it's not very clear on this map, but it's in Southeast Asia. So China is up here, this is Vietnam, Japan is somewhere up here if we look at this map, and here are the Philippines. Now Manila is in the northern part of it. It is a mainly Christian city. It is one of the main ports between the 16th and 19th centuries for trade to the west, and a lot of spices and silks flowed through Manila on their way to America, to England, and other European countries. Now, before we explore Asia's growing populations and we go through our reading and reasons and impacts behind this, let's do a quick activity, shall we? So we're going to do an activity called Dingbats. This is where pictures and letters are put in place of a word, and you have to guess the country. For instance, let's look at these sets of images, and this is a country in Asia. If we combine the jar here on the left without the R, so it's just jar, and then add it to a pan, so if we go jar or Japan, so hopefully I'd be able to identify that it is Japan. So the images represent Japan. So I'd write Japan if I had that. So you're going to do the same thing for images that represent cities in Asia that we have covered. I've put the top 20 most populous cities in Asia here on the right hand side. So these are the cities in orange here. Just if you want to know, and the ones on the right, it's just the country they're in. Just to give you some reference if you didn't know what city they were, so you can come back and have a look at them. And to help you. The images can be found on a Google document which is attached to the assignment you found this video in. It is titled just plainly Dingbats, which I've also put here. That's how it's spelled. So it's a Google document in this assignment called Dingbats. Write the answers in your books. It'll be 1 to 6, and just write the city you think it is. So pause the video, go and find that Dingbats Google document and figure out the cities. Wonderful. So you should have found that Google document called Dingbats, and then you should have tried to guess the cities in Asia using the images. I hope you gave that a good go. Some of them were quite hard, admittedly, but we're going to go through them now. So make sure you've got your red pens at the ready again. So the first one was Shanghai, got S, then there's cat hanging, so hang, shang, and then just high, so Shanghai. The second one was Mumbai. This was meant to, the circle was around the mother out of the pair, so it's mum, and then just by, so Mumbai. I'll put that back just quickly if you want to mark it. The next one is Tokyo. So I thought TikTok, I'm sure you're aware what TikTok is, and Yo Sushi. So Tokyo. So number 3 was Tokyo. Number 4 was Delhi, Del, then the computer, and then just hi. So Delhi or Delhi. So pause it quickly if you need to write them down. And then 5 is Calcutta. So this is coal. This is a cat. The mask had nothing to do with it. Just thought it was a cool image. And then A. So coal, cat, so Calcutta. And then the last one, this is a man. This child is unfortunately ill. So man, ill, and then just adding an A. So Manila. So hopefully you enjoyed that a little bit. I enjoyed it. And those were your 6. So next, your final task before the Google quiz is a reading and then some questions. Before you read, make sure you have these 2 keywords down. Sanitation, just public health conditions, clean water and disposal of waste. And then when we're talking about imperial occupation, that's just enforcing a rule of authority such as empires over foreign countries. So for instance, when Britain occupied India. So you need to read through the Google document which is titled Human Geography of Asia, which is attached to the assignment you found this video in. Read through it carefully. I recommend at least 2 times. Then you need to answer these questions, the 9 questions in your book. Make sure you are answering in full sentences. Again, if you're not sure, make sure you use a question to answer your sentences. To pause the video and use the reading, which is titled Human Geography of Asia, to answer your questions, which are here on the slide now. So pause the video. Right, well done, year 7. You've done really well. Get those red pens ready. It's the last time you're going to need them. And then we can start self-assessing your work. Remember to write the correct answers if you got it wrong, or give yourself a tick if you got it correct. The first pages of the answers are on the slide here, 1 to 4. Pause now to give yourself time to mark it. Make sure you're marking it and make sure it's in full sentences, please. Right, so you should have paused to give yourself some time to mark that. Now's our next one. This is just number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. Oh, sorry, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're missing a question. Right, so you should have marked them. Now, the last task is your Google quiz. Your password to get into the Google quiz is the country Vietnam. Make sure you spell it exactly as it says on the board with a capital V. Again, the word is Vietnam. So, using the word Vietnam, you can access the Google quiz, make sure you put your name, and then you can complete it. Well done, you worked incredibly well, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll finish human geography.